Hey everybody, it's Romania Black. Oh my gosh! It's here. It's finally here. So, just for context, I started reacting to Monthly Girls and Zaki-kun back in May of 2020. The first thing I ever reacted to. And after that series was over, I did a poll to see what I would watch after that. And the winner was Given. And so from July to September, I watched Given, and it's been one of my favorite anime that I've seen. I absolutely loved it. As soon as I was done with it, I had to go out. I had to get volumes 1 and 2. I did not get volume 3 because people told me that it was where the movie started. So volume 2 ends right after the concert in episode 9. So I have the manga to look through for volumes 1 and 2, but I've ordered volumes 3, 4, and 5 now because I've been told that that's what the movie is basically going through. So I'm so excited. And I won't get the manga till after I watch the movie, so that'll be fine. Once they come in, I can go back and see what was missed. I might do a video to recap things that were left out of the movie that were in the manga. I might do something like that. But oh my gosh, you guys. I'm so excited. That ended back in September of 2020, and it's been like 4 months. 4 months! And it's gone by so fast, and here we are at the movie. I'm so excited. I love Given. I absolutely love it. I love it for a lot of different reasons. For me, I love romance. I know I watch a lot of shonen, but I love romance stories. But my caveats are they have to have compelling characters. They have to not be forced. They have to feel genuine and natural, and they have to be interesting. And you'd think that wouldn't be hard to find, but I don't care what type of romance it is, whether it's between a guy and a girl, a guy and a guy, a girl and a girl, a toaster and a lamp. I don't care. I'm like, as long as it has those 3 things, I'm good. And Given checks off all the boxes. It has compelling characters that are deep, that feel very relatable, and they have a lot of depth to them. It has a story that is very genuine, very realistic, very true to life, and it deals with a lot of themes about love, relationships, toxic relationships, moving on from past relationships, developing new relationships, and all the trials and tribulations with it. And it's such a natural, beautiful, sad, happy, joyful show that I have missed it. I've watched episodes again and again from it, but I've been like, man, I've held off. I have held off and not been spoiled. I have waited for this. There is honestly only one spoiler from the movie that I know about, and it's a really obvious one. If you've seen any of the promotional material that Twitter has been putting out or that has been featured on any sites related to the movie, you probably know what I'm talking about. I'm a little sad that I was spoiled about that, but when we get to it in the movie, I'll just point it out briefly and be like, that's what I was spoiled on. It's something really minor, but it's just something that I could not avoid. But everything else, I know nothing. I know nothing. I've been so excited to watch this and to share my reaction with you all. Like I said, I don't normally cry or get super emotional externally when I watch anime. Now, internally, I'm like screaming and freaking out, but I don't usually shed tears. I got close during Mafiyu's song. That whole, and going back and rewatching it, it's like, whoo, buddy. But, so, if you're expecting me to bawl my eyes out, I make no promises, but am I going to fangirl my heart out? Probably. So, I'm so excited. I'm going to put this out, hopefully, on Friday of this week for Patreon, and then the following week for YouTube. So, probably going to opaque some things and make things small because I want to promote the movie as much as possible. So I'm not going to be like a full-blown here's the movie, but my reaction definitely. And then hopefully, I'm watching this through Crunchyroll, so hopefully if you have a subscription, you can support it. If not, if you can buy the Blu-ray, DVD, things like that. And buy the manga! Volumes 1 and 2 are out. Volume 3 has been sold out, and as I've been talking to friends on Patreon and on Twitter, the company that makes Given, because of COVID, they've sold out and they're still waiting to print new volumes. So it's a good thing that they've sold out. But I've got volume 3 on back order, and then volumes 4 and 5 are supposed to be here soon. So, and I've ordered the calendar from Japan, so I'm going to hopefully get that coming in soon, the movie calendar for Given. So I am supporting as much as I can, but oh, I'm so ready, guys. I am so excited. So I hope you all enjoy this reaction. It's an hour long, not long enough, but I'm hoping that it will transition. We'll talk about it after the movie into maybe a season 2 of Given. That would be awesome, but we'll talk about that afterwards. But in the meantime, y'all, I'm so ready. I'm so ready. So let's dive in, shall we? Hopefully Crunchyroll doesn't crash. They've done a really great job of promoting this and been like doing. They just announced today. They were like, "Oh, by the way, the movie's dropping today," and it was like, "What?" I was like, I can't believe it. And so hopefully the site doesn't crash because I'm like, I couldn't wait to watch it. So I'm watching it right as it comes out. I hope you all are too. But thank you all so much for watching. I'm so excited. And we are going to start the reaction to the movie Given here in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, guys, let's go. Ah! Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, you guys. Okay. Okay. Oh! All the feels. All the feels. All the feels. All the feels. It's not enough. It's never enough. That was so good. That was so good. Okay. All right. I was making small notes where I could because I was like, I'm going to forget things otherwise. Holy cow. There wasn't a lot of Uenayama focus in this, which I'm fine with because the whole first season of Given was Uenayama's and Mafiyu's story. Like, Uenayama was our protagonist we started with, and even though Mafiyu's story was the center point, Uenayama was kind of the protagonist that we got to interact with Mafiyu through and find all that out. So Uenayama and Mafiyu were the focus of that first season of Given. So I'm fine that they kind of get pushed to the side for this movie because we really needed more with Haruki and Kaiji and Ugetsu especially. And so, oh my gosh. So much. So much to talk about. So much to talk about. Oh. That was really good. I'm so curious now. So I'm glad I bought the manga because now, hopefully when they come in the next few weeks, I want to go back and see towards the end where they were talking about the band and everything and it transitioning to spring, from winter to spring. I feel like the manga may have included some extra things in it. And so I want to go back and read that and do maybe like a little tiny mini review video of things that are left out of the manga. Because there are things left out of the anime with the first 2 volumes that I have that I noticed that I wanted to kind of bring up and talk about. So I might do like a little mini review of volumes 1 through 5 and say, hey, here's what so far has been left out of the anime and the movie that were in the manga, and maybe going forward into season 2. I really think that with as popular as this movie has been in Japan, and my friend Wu on Patreon just texted and she was like, Crunchyroll crashed, and I'm like, thank God I got to watch it and it didn't crash on me then. But hopefully with the popularity, I really want them to do a season 2. I've heard, the only spoilery thing I know is I've heard that there's enough chapters that aren't volumized yet that could make enough material for a season 2. And I'm like, cool, that would be awesome, because this show, just this whole film, the talk about relationships and moving forward and love and unrequited love is just so damn good. And so I love from the opening of this film, Ugetsu is such a strange character, and but here's the thing, I feel like all of us know someone that's like Ugetsu. I feel like we all know someone that's like that. I've met people in college that are like Ugetsu. I'm seeing this film like, yeah, I know exactly this type of person. And they're complicated. It's a complex thing. I like from this opening the idea that Ugetsu is presented as different things for Mafiyu and for Kaiji. For Kaiji, Ugetsu is a form of destruction. Like his destruction of his love of the violin, that he's not going to be good enough to continue, like why bother? And what caused him to hate music was his relationship with Ugetsu, because he just didn't see himself. Kind of like, we'll talk about Haruki, kind of like with Haruki, he's like, oh, well, you're a genius. I can't live up to that, so why even try? You know? Whereas Mafiu, who is also a genius in his own realm, he's inspired by Ugetsu. He finds Ugetsu as an inspiration because he does connect with him on a certain level. And there's so many connections between the characters in this. It's so crazy how interconnected they are and how they feed off of each other in different ways, very organically, like you do with people in real life. So I like the idea that Ugetsu is both inspiration and destruction for Kaiji and Ueniyama, and Mafiu. Which is funny because as soon as the first scene happens that we get that implication, Mafiu's like, oh, me and Kaiji are very similar. And I'm like, are you similar? Because you guys are picking apart different things from him. It's so crazy because Kaiji, I keep calling him Haiji. Kaiji, he doesn't think he can be good enough to compete with Ugetsu, and he's like, why should I pursue it if I'm not a genius? And then Haruki struggles from the same thing. He's like, I'm surrounded by geniuses, so what good am I? And Kaiji's like, no, you are the peacemaker. You are the glue and the support keeping us all together. We need you. And basically the implication of I need you is there as well. And it's like, oh my gosh. And I really like the relationship that develops between Ugetsu and Mafiu in this, because it was kind of hinted at in the anime that Mafiu was intrigued by, or that Ugetsu was intrigued by Mafiu. And I really like that they end up kind of knowing each other. And in a sense, the idea of Mafiu moving on from Yuki and dating Ueniyama is kind of like what Ugetsu wants with Kaiji. Like the relationship between Kaiji and Ugetsu is so toxic and so heartbreaking, because you knew that there was love there at some point, but maybe it wasn't, true love or love that had longevity, but it was their first love. Their first love for each other was kind of like they were each other's first love, but it's just not, there's not the stability or compassion or connection between the two of them to make it last and to make it work. So it's hard because they both end up kind of becoming codependent upon each other, where they can't truly move on. There's too much of a safety net there between the two of them. They're like, if things all fall apart, we can still go back to each other. And I've known people in relationships like that, where there's that safety net and they're like, it's not ideal. We don't really love each other, but it's safe and it's there. So I'm going to keep going back to it. But it's not healthy. Like, it's not healthy when it's not a loving, lasting relationship. And I like the comparison that we get in this movie between Ueniyama and Mafiu's relationship being innocent and young to this more complex, toxic, complicated relationship with Haiji, with Kaiji and Haruki and Ugetsu. But the idea of unrequited love is just, it's... And the idea that... Because knowing in the first season of Given, Kaiji is presented as such a strong character to us. Like, he's presented as this strong, stable presence. Like, he helps Ueniyama out. He gives advice to Mafiu. He is the calm, cool, collected presence. No! Kaiji is anything but calm, cool, and collected, and stable, and strong. And he constantly is running away and calls himself a coward, and he's, like, afraid to face up to reality and moving forward and pursuing something that's going to be healthy for him. And it's crazy, because that's not the Kaiji that we're originally led to, know from the first season. It's like, oh, crud. Okay. And then just the idea that Kaiji is a pretty dependent character. Like, he really depends on others. And getting the confirmation that he ran away from his parents. He ran away from that. And he's just been, feeding and freeloading off of people and being a codependent person to get by in life and not be his own independent, person because he's afraid. And then by the end of the movie, he gets his own place and makes up with his parents. And he finally officially breaks up with Ugetsu and then confesses to Haruki. But, oh my gosh. But yeah, the scene where Ugetsu helps Mafiu, like he's like, I like that we get to see Mafiu in a new light, that we get to genuinely see Mafiu. Besides, because in the anime, he's in the first season, he's really kind of like dark, brooding, and we don't get much. He's just kind of like mopey and dark and gloomy. And in this, we get to see more of him, that he actually can be happy, but he's definitely a more somber person and is harboring a lot of complex emotions, just like Kaiji is. And then Haruki finds out that Kaiji had a roommate for years he didn't know. And Kaiji's all natural about it, like, oh, whatever. And I love in this movie that Kaiji is hidden so much from Haruki because he wants to kind of keep this little rose-colored vision of his relationship with Haruki. Like, Haruki doesn't need to know about Ugetsu. And he doesn't really know who it is in the end. He doesn't know who it is in the end that he was dating. He doesn't know about Ugetsu by the end of this. But Kaiji's just kept this, like, relationship with Haruki kind of in this rose-colored glass. Like, you don't need to know about these girls that I'm dating. You don't need to know about Ugetsu. You don't need to know about me. Like, he distanced himself enough from Haruki where Haruki doesn't know too much about him. But he obviously knows Haruki likes him. And when that comes out in this, it's like, oh my gosh. So, yeah. That scene. The scene with just the idea of these two being in this toxic relationship. And I like that Ugetsu tells Mafiu about it. We get to see it from his perspective. I like that we get to see Ugetsu's perspective about it. And him constantly breaking things and trying to push Kaiji away, but knowing that Kaiji is a dependent person. And Ugetsu's not innocent in all this, because Ugetsu keeps coming back. And it is his place, but he doesn't kick Kaiji out. He lets him come back and he lets him stay there. And when Kaiji tries to originally break up with him, he's like, no. And it's like, it's just as hard for him to let go because he's kind of codependent too, but he's not as subtle about it as Kaiji is, perhaps. And oh my gosh, just him bringing the guy over to stay and basically finally telling Kaiji to leave, and Kaiji getting ticked off. So that scene where he kind of forces himself on Haruki, I'm glad we get to see Haruki mad in this, that Haruki gets to have his voice heard and be, because I relate a lot to Haruki in the original anime, and so that scene was not just, it's like, Kaiji, man, you've got some issues. And I like that Haruki didn't just immediately accept him back. Like, it's established that there is a big period, there is a big stretch of time, like months, where Kaiji kind of had to work his way back into the fray and into his good graces. And I'm glad Kaiji realizes it was wrong, and I'm glad Kaiji apologizes, but I'm also glad that Haruki was like, that's not enough. Like, you need to prove to me that you really are sorry and that you know what you did was wrong. Not just saying you're sorry, but you know what was wrong about it. And so I'm glad that Haruki got that voice to it, but that was so uncomfortable. That was so uncomfortable. Because on the surface, in any other anime, in any other, like, fairy tale story, you would think that a scene like that where Kaiji comes up and admits that he knows Haruki loves him and all this, like in any other show, I think it'd be played up as something good. Like, it'd be like, oh, they're finally getting together. But in this, it's like, Haruki is like, no, this is wrong because you've not taken care of all your other loose ends. This isn't gonna work out until you get everything else straightened out. And it's like, oh my gosh, that was hard. That was hard. And I'm glad Haruki gets mad and stays mad for a while. And it's just like, nope. Nope. And it's like, And then Haruki says, you can stay here, but I'm not staying here. So I think Haruki handled that really well. I mean, much better than a lot of people would, but... And it's so sad because you like these characters. Like, I like Ueniyama, I like Mafiu, I like Haruki, and I like Kaiji, but then I was spoiled that he cut his hair. That was the one thing I was spoiled on, was him cutting his hair. I was like, okay, he cut his hair. I saw that from a lot of promo images. I love his long hair. I love it so much. And I was like, but it makes sense. Thematically and narrative wise, it makes sense why he cut it. And then Kaiji saying he relies so much on Haruki. And Kaiji's problem is that he relies on a lot of things rather than himself. He runs away from problems and he tries to like basically freeload off so many others instead of standing up for himself and his own ideals. He just kind of tries to fall into place with these things, and it's like, And the mugs make so much more sense now. He had the big mug and the little mug. That's because the matching mug broke. But he's still trying. It's such symbolism. He's still trying to make it work, even though the mugs don't match anymore. They don't fit up anymore. But he's still trying to say, oh, yeah, it's the same thing. And it's like, no, it's not. And Taka-chan, Taki is like MVP friend in all this, because he takes Haruki in, he cuts his hair, he clearly knows stuff's going on between him and Haiji, or Kaiji, and eventually I'll call him by the right name. And so, yeah. Like, he basically knows stuff's going on, but he's like, I'm going to help out because I'm a really good friend. And it's like, oh, man. On the one hand, during the anime, I rooted for Take and Haruki to get together, because I think they'd be a good couple. But, I mean, we all know that this story is about, and really this was a lot about not only Haruki's development, but Kaiji's as well. And how Kaiji's finally... This is pretty much Kaiji's film, really, truthfully. And then it's like Kaiji's at the center stage here, and then there's Haruki and Ugetsu, because they're both equally developing too, along with Kaiji. And then there's Sato, like, right below Kaiji, and then Uenoyama's kind of off here with Taki, but like, hey, we're still here. Yeah, I like how... And then, yeah, Kaiji just begs him to stay. And he's like, fine, but you're just going to do work and I'm not going to... And you can tell that they kind of develop this friendship back again. Because it's like you had to pick up the pieces and start over. And Haruki, being the saint that he is like, I will give you a chance, but we're going to work back from square one. And they do. So, the fireworks scene. I'm going through this movie as I'm talking to y'all to know what I wrote down. The fireworks scene. The idea of the basement versus the apartment. So, I love the symbolism here that basically Kaiji stuck in that basement was suffocating himself. Like, he didn't see sunlight. There's no windows in there. It was damp and hot and suffocating until they got air conditioning at the end of the season. And he's just drowning and suffocating himself. He can't, get fresh air. He keeps just staying in the stale environment, and it was killing him. And then contrast that with the scene with Haruki and the fireworks, where he can actually see the fireworks and see the light and be kind of in the sun above ground with Haruki. It's like a totally different environment for him. And I like that he comes out and says to Haruki that he is breaking up with Ugetsu and leaving him. And he does come clean with him about all that. Like, So the walk home, I really like that scene. The idea that they were going to walk for an hour and they ended up walking together for like more than that. Like, it's clearly they walked for like 4 or 5 hours together. And what I like about this scene is that it's Kaiji and him reconnecting and redeveloping this relationship and actually opening up with each other and sharing things about each other and getting to know each other. And he's not keeping Haruki so distant in this rose-colored thing. He's like playing with bugs, and he's like, I like bugs, and yeah, I'm really childish, and okay, and you actually see him laugh, and it's like the first genuine laugh that Kaiji gives that we've seen this whole entire series, and it's like because he's with Haruki, who he loves. And I love that this show, they didn't spoil it. They're like, they naturally let this relationship redevelop back up And even at the end, we don't get a kiss. I was waiting for it, but we don't get it yet. It's like, no, we're not back to that point. He loves him and they want to start dating, but they're gonna have to work at it just like any other couple would from square one. And I love that Kaiji's getting back into the violin, that he gets to play in concerts, and he's getting back into instruments and his passion, and it's because he doesn't feel like he's, suffocating. He actually can breathe, and Haruki lets him. And it's like, I think it's really telling though when Mafiu goes to see Ugetsu and doesn't realize that Kaiji's left, that glass that was broken, that Ugetsu leaves it. He never cleans it back up. It's like he's constantly waiting for Kaiji to come back and fix things, because he's not in a great place either, and he doesn't come back, except to get his things there at the very end, to get his things to finally leave. And Mafiu is not dumb. He's broken up with someone before. He's been in a bad relationship, a relationship that's ended badly. And so he's very aware, of what's going on, and kind of tells Haruki, he's like, yeah, stuff's happening. What are you doing? And that shot of that broken glass in between Kaiji and Ugetsu, where he's like, I'm getting my stuff and leaving. And you realize just how codependent these two are on each other, but it's not good for either of them because they're not really in love with each other anymore. It's just staying for convenience. And they were in love, but it's just not the same. And that idea of having to move forward is, ugh. And that talk where he talks to Mafiu Ugetsu does about unrequited love. That the music remains, that you can move on, you can move forward. Because I think Ugetsu believes, he knows that the love that he had for Kaiji is no longer reciprocated. And Kaiji knows the love he had for Ugetsu is no longer reciprocated the same way either. And I feel like Mafiu is drawing inspiration from that, because he knows that him and Yuki's relationship cannot go forward anymore. That the love he gave to Yuki won't be given back anymore. But, so just like Kaiji's moving on from Ugetsu to Haruki, Mafiu is moving on from Yuki to Uenoyama. And it's hard. And it's really hard. I feel like Uenoyama and Mafiu, their relationship doesn't go through any like trials or tribulations in this movie. I feel like maybe that'll happen in the manga, but that they're still like in a good place. But yeah, it's going to be hard because Mafiu has all those memories of Yuki, so it's going to be hard to move on from him and start a new relationship and do that. And the same things with Kaiji. Kaiji has all these memories with Ugetsu, and even though they're not all good, there's still memories and there's still love attached to them. So it's going to be hard to move on from that, but he wants to do it with Haruki, and it's like, And that song, I love Sato's song, Winter Story. I love that song so much. But this one, about the dawn, it's so good. Like, I love the tune, the lyrics, the melody. I thought Kaiji was, like, realizing as he's playing the drums that it seemed like a lot of it was influenced. It was a song both about Mafiu moving on from Yuki to Uenoyama, but also about Kaiji moving on from Ugetsu. And I like that we get the little scene with the two of them hugging, Ugetsu and Uenoyama. Or not, oh god, not Ugetsu and Uenoyama, Uenoyama and Mafiu. That would be a weird ship. That would not be a healthy ship at all. But yeah, that it hurts letting go, wanting the pain to end, but that it's still hard to do so. Even though you want a relationship to end and you know it needs to, it's still hard to do that. And I love the line that Ugetsu tells Mafiu at the end, that he doesn't want all the things filling the room to disappear. Because that's so true, because if you've been in a relationship with someone and then it ends, in the movies, the thing is you just throw everything away, right? I think of Forgetting Sarah Marshall, where he just burns like all the photos and gets rid of all the stuff. And in a lot of romantic movies and a lot of romantic stories, the person just gets rid of everything. They're like, I want them completely out of my life. But that's not realistic. Because if you've spent time in a relationship with someone, you don't want to get rid of everything. you probably do keep some mementos. Like maybe you keep a photograph, or maybe you keep like a trinket or an item that you got with that person that has like sentimental value, not just to them but to you, because you were part of that relationship too. And so I get where Ugetsu probably freaked out when Kaiji came to get his stuff, because he's like, I don't want you to take everything, because then you'll be completely gone, and I don't want that to happen. I want part of you to remain. There's that part of you want stuck around. So it's much. I love that this movie handles it so realistically, in that, yeah, that relationship may end, but it's not going to completely fade away. It's like what Yuki was telling him. You're going to forget all about this, and Mafuyu's like, I'm pretty sure I'm not. There's going to be parts I do forget, but not everything. I'm still going to remember you in that regard. And then him finally breaking up with Ugetsu here. Oh my gosh. And him, like, Ugetsu doesn't want to let it go all the way. And he's like, because he says he plays the drums to spite him. And he's like, look, I still want to play violin, but I'm also going to play the drums. And then when they finally let go, and there's that symbolic him letting go of his hand, and Mafuyu turns around, or Ugetsu turns around under that street lamp, and he's just crying, and I love that he pivots on one foot, that Ugetsu pivots on one foot, like he's going to turn around and chase him, but he's already gone. And there's that little brief cut to Mafuyu that's like, it'll be okay. And I love they're like, Sato's words are like magic. Like his song is like magic, because that song was about letting go and moving forward. And the color symbolism at the end, where it shows where Kaiji is leaving, he's in the white shirt, and Haruki's in the black shirt. And then this part towards the end, as I'm watching this again, like the part where they don't make the band cut, which is fine, because as much as Given is about music, it's about more than music. But they did have people approach them. I feel like this is parts that maybe the manga expands on a little bit more, where it shows Kaiji getting his act together, like coming early to the studios, practicing more with the violin, getting back into his schooling more. And then they go in. I want to see in the manga them ringing in the new year. Like, that looks so adorable. And, like, Kaiji doesn't want to do it. And Haruki's like, yeah, do it. And then they played some shows. And we get to see that Haruki played with his ex-girlfriend. And then Kaiji came to support him. Like, I like that this transition, it's not something that was just instantly they were okay back together. It's things where they've been with each other, developing that relationship back and kind of making amends with each other. And then, yeah, I love that Kaiji did not know that Haruki was going to show up at the concert. And then Haruki got to see him play violin for the first time. And you can tell watching it a second time, he's really flustered up there playing the violin, but he's not letting it show. And then I got really big Daokusei vibes from this scene, where Haruki left early from the show and was sitting on the bench. Like, I got such Daokusei vibes, because Kaiji basically tackles him just like Kasabe tackles Rihiko, in that it's like, oh my gosh, you should have told me you'd be there. I was so embarrassed. And Haruki this whole time has been like, Kaiji's changed. I wonder why he's changed. And it's like, you dummy, he's changed for you. He's gotten better for you. And then he's like, I'm doing all these things. I'm getting back into music. I'm moving forward. I'm getting better for myself, because I want to be worthy of your love. I want to be worthy of it. Like, he's basically like, Haruki, you're amazing, and I've been awful, and so I want to be someone that is worthy of your love. And it's like, melt. And it's like, and he finally says his name, the guy I was in love with, Ugetsu. And then he apologized to his parents, and they got him some cash so he could get his own place. And he'd been running away all this time, and he wanted to see how much I could do. And then he was acting distant because he wanted to give him space and then make these changes. And I love that. I want to become a man worthy of your love. And it's like, oh my gosh, you guys. And Haruki's like, it's like, ugh. And And I love that Kaiji just looks at him to the side like, oh God, I'm so embarrassed. I've just confessed under these cherry blossom trees. And probably my favorite part on this is that he asks. They both, he's like trembling there and he's like, may I touch you? And then as soon as he says yes, he gives him a hug and embraces him and tells him he loves him. And that's like just asking for all of that, like saying, I know I've done you so wrong, but can I have permission to do this and confess my love to you? And it's like, oh my gosh, you guys. So good. And then, yeah, letting him go. And then we get to see like little tiny things with them. Then we cut back there to the very end. And I'm so glad we got the after credit scene. Let me try that again. I get it. And that look on Haruki's face where he's just like, sure, let's do this. And Kaiji's like, for real? And he's like, for real. Mafio's song's like magic. It's like, oh, it makes me want to give love another try. Let's go home. And it's like, oh my gosh. And they just walk side by side. And I love the contrast. This is an ordinary love story that took place in an ordinary spring. And it was like autumn and spring. And then we had winter and summer with those two. And it's like our two couples. And what are they going to do from here? Oh my gosh, you guys. So yeah, that was so good. So good, so emotional, so real. It just reinvigorated my love for Given all over again. And now that I'm going to get the manga, I'm like, I will be able to reread. And there's something about Kizu, her artwork is just so good. Like just capturing expressions and emotions. I'm really excited to get the manga. I'm really excited to read it and see what was left out of the movie and the anime. And I definitely want to do a video. It'll be short. It won't be a long video. I've like rambled for 30 minutes about this movie. But it won't be long. But I want to do a video kind of summarizing and catching up what was left out between volumes 1 and 5. And I know that the manga goes beyond that. I don't know if I want to read the manga beyond that, though, because I keep getting my hopes up and thinking that they're going to do a season 2. I really want them to, and I want to be surprised. So, I don't know, guys. You can comment down below and tell me how many more chapters or how much more volumes does the manga extend beyond volume 5? Maybe. If it's not that much, I could read it and react to it, but part of me almost wants to wait and see if they do a season 2, especially with how popular. I mean, the movie crashed Crunchyroll and it did well in Japan, so I'm just so curious if the publicity and the press with it will let them do a season 2. I really want them to, but I don't know. So I'm curious your thoughts down below. Please don't spoil me on manga spoilers, but let me know how many more chapters there are past volume 5 or past the movie. If you guys think they'll do a season 2, if you think I should go ahead and read the manga, if you think I should wait, I'm curious to know your thoughts. Given's one of my faves, and I loved this so much. This was really good. I kept getting Mafiu and Ugetsu's names confused in this review, and I kept getting Kaiji and Haiji. I'm like, run with the wind, Haiji. Stay over there. But, you guys, as a Haruki fan, I liked this movie a lot. I feel like I know Kaiji more as a character now thanks to this movie, and I'm like, okay, I get Kaiji's character more. I definitely get Ugetsu's character more, and there's still mystery to him. And then Mafiu coming to his own. I love it. I love it so much. So, please let me know what y'all thought down below. I hope y'all enjoyed the reaction. I hope you enjoyed the movie. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we get season 2. But in the meantime, I hope y'all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and I'll talk to you all again soon. Bye.